Before we start this episode, we would like to thank our sponsors. The first one is Progress Telerik. They have amazing Blazor UI controls with over 95 components. So if you need something, they probably have it. Check them out at bit.ly/BlazorUI.
And our next sponsor is If Insurance. And they want to decrease injuries in society and need your help crunching historical data with .NET technology to predict the future. Their tech community is over 900 people and they are growing like never before. And you can check them out at bit.ly/ifdev.
But now, let's continue with the show.
Welcome back to Coding After Work podcast. Now, we met today's guest, Nico, a dark December day, 2013, at a Unity training camp in Finland. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Nico. I'm an .NET application architect in Belgium in a consulting company where I spent most of my days working on applications, doing proof of concepts, building out architectures and stuff like that. Until a couple of years ago, I was mostly doing Xamarin full-time at the same company. And besides that, I spent a lot of time in the community where I met you guys several times. That's also where I became a Microsoft MVP, first in WinDev, now in, what's it called? I forgot the developer technologies.
I usually call it developer tools. I don't know why.
I did Dev Tech, right?
Yeah. So back in 2013, we bonded over Windows Phone.
Yes. But we met online before that, right?
Yes, we had some interaction on Twitter, I believe.
Because Belgium and Sweden were the only countries having a Meet community.
Microsoft Extended Expert Team,
That's
the
it.
one.
Yeah. It's kind of like a lightweight pre-MVP program, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, in Sweden, it was most post-MVPs. So most of them were very seasoned MVPs. But I think back in the day, there was no real channel for the people who wanted to talk to MVPs in Sweden, or at least nobody knew how to handle that whole shebang. So they started Meet. There was only a handful of people who was not MVPs invited, I believe. At our end.
It was mostly active community members who were not MVP yet. And of course, they stayed in once they became MVPs. But it was like a way to get the local Microsoft office to get to know you better.
That's good. So basically a Microsoft MVP training camp.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
Do you still have it?
No, it's long
No. Yeah. Same.
The evangelist from Microsoft who started everything changed jobs. And
Yeah. Well, I think Microsoft changed directions and they stopped having evangelists and they stopped developer experience areas and stuff like that and went over a little bit more to cloud advocates and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think somewhere in between there, it disappeared.
I guess so, yeah. Which is a shame because it was an interesting community. We also had much more buy-in from Microsoft back then as community organizers.
Yeah. But what was it that got you started with Windows Phone and later Windows 8 development, really?
So I started developing software professionally back in 2010, shortly after that Windows Phone 7 was released. I got one. Actually, my first Windows Phone was the HTC AG2, which came with Windows Mobile 6.5. But you could flash it to Windows Phones. Of course, that's what I did because why not? And it was on Windows Phone 7. I installed the SDK just out of curiosity. Can I build something using the tools that I know and actually run it on this small handheld device? Which turned out way easier than I expected because it was Silverlight. I knew this. And by then I was hooked. So in my free time, I spent a lot of time learning about mobile development and Windows Phone in particular. I actually convinced our company to look into it. That took some time. By the time Windows Phone 8 came out, I was completely sold.
Yeah.
There's a very special feeling developing for another device.
Yes.
Getting the code to run on something that you can bring in your pocket or just something that is not a computer screen, really.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the same feeling with Raspberry Pis and Arduinos and all that.
All the gadgets.
All the gadgets.
You are a published author. You actually got 2 books on the shelf, if you can say that.
Oh, the virtual shelf.
Exactly. So you've written a book about Windows 8 app projects and one with possibly the longest name in the entire universe, introducing .NET 6. Getting started with Blazor, Maui, Windows App SDK desktop development, and containers.
That's a subtitle.
Yeah, they do that. Oh, I think, Jimmy, your book also has a longer subtitle. I don't know why they do that.
But the subtitle, I'm guessing, is for people who grab hold of the book. They see .NET 6, they're interested, and they want to know what's in there. So that subtitle has to draw their attention.
Yeah.
Of
I
course,
guess.
Jimmy's book has raccoons on the cover, so
I know.
Have you seen his latest book? The what you
I
call
don't think
it?
I have, no?
The new one, you mean?
Yeah,
I haven't published the new cover officially.
it's not official, really. You just had a preview.
There's a raccoon on there.
It is a raccoon on there.
Oh, he had to fight for it and really fight for it because they have a new design pattern that they really want to use. And no matter how hard he tried to explain that raccoons, he got another, well, you can choose this color or this pattern, but he got it.
Is there a pattern that looks like a raccoon, perhaps? Could that be an option?
So tell me, Jessica, is he always this stubborn?
Yes.
Okay.
I need to think about that. He almost jumped off the bus. I think that was it Build or Ignite?
Yes.
Yeah, one of those.
One of the 2.
Yeah, I think it was Microsoft Ignite because it was warm. And there was a raccoon. I saw it when we were on the transfer bus. And Jimmy was halfway off the bus, even though it was not letting off any people because he wanted the raccoon.
Bringing it home.
That's illegal.
Yes.
So what has been your experience when it comes to writing a book? Or 2?
It's a lot of work.
Yes. And it greatly depends on whichever of these 2 books you mean. The Windows 8 book, when I started writing it, Windows 8 was out there, it was released. So I could just write about released software. Of course, by the time the book was published, 1 or 2 months later, Windows 8.1 came out and the book was obsolete. But now with the .NET 6 book, I started writing in March of 2021 with beta software. So .NET 6 preview, VS19 preview back then. And so I started writing. I got some chapters in. And I don't remember if it was built, but all of a sudden a couple of announcements came. Oh, there will be a Visual Studio 2022. Okay, I need to update all my screenshots that show Visual Studio. Okay. Oh, there will also be Windows 11. Okay, so now I need to update all my screenshots. So that was interesting. Every couple of weeks, a new preview version of .NET 6 was released, so I had to go back and make sure that screenshots showing versions were updated. By the time it went RTM, there were still a lot of screenshots in there showing the preview tag. So all of those had to go as well. So there was a lot going back and forth, but I still had to make my deadlines to finish the chapters. So it was not easy. Luckily, the A-Press, the publisher, they understood this. They had experience working with unreleased technologies. And they were really helpful in that. So that was good.
That's nice.
Then Microsoft goes and says, you know what? We're not going to release .NET Maui right now.
Oh, God, Maui. Exactly. We were still under the impression that Maui would happen in the .NET 6 timeframe, the same release. So there's an entire chapter on Maui in the book. And then they announced that Maui will not be released in November together with .NET 6. So we had some discussion and we decided to keep the chapter in there. And looking at the chapter now, compared to the released version of Maui, There are some things broken about the explanation in the book, which is definitely true. But there's also a big warning at the start of the chapter saying that this is purely based on preview versions of the software.
Yeah.
And things might have changed. They have. But I wanted to keep a chapter in there just to give readers a bit of a feeling of how Maui changed compared to Xamarin Forms.
Right.
But I think that's especially nowadays when release cycles are getting shorter and shorter. It's not like 2, 3, 4 years until we get the next version. It's so quick and they're so open about it. And they go back and forth. Like, we think we will do these 10 things, but we may or may not only get 8 in. But then we add a bonus. So that makes it a little bit more complicated to write a book about current software. Yeah.
And then the book was released in March, I believe. And now, coming November, in 4 months, .NET 7 will be released.
Yeah.
So there's that book obsoleting in.
Only semi-obsolete because .NET 6 is long-time support.
Sure, that's true. Yeah.
Will you write another one?
No.
That was Jimmy said as well, but he's doing a revision of his. So.
Yeah, they have asked me if I wanted to update the book to .NET 7. And I liked working with them. They were great during the entire writing process. But there was a bit of an issue in the financial department.
Oh.
And okay, everything got settled in the end, but it took them 3 months to answer to one simple question. And that just doesn't give the feeling of trust to work with them again.
Yeah.
But,
well, it is complicated and this whole world is a little bit, you really don't get compensated for your actual writing time, do you?
Oh, no.
No.
If you want to get rich, don't write a book.
No, because it's a lot of hours you spend and you will not get compensated for that. Again, they're doing what everyone else is doing. So this is not down to one publisher. This is like the whole scene. But I think it's everything that has to do with crafting and craftsmanship. You don't get paid for the actual.
At this point, I would prefer restarting my blog, writing longer blog posts instead of a new book because you are closer to the community.
Yeah.
And I've had this happen many times before. I write an article, I tweet about it, I get immediate feedback. You say this and this, but in my experience, it's this and this. And you look into it, you adjust your article, and then you have community interaction.
Yeah.
And that's way more fun.
Yeah, and also if something goes obsolete and they don't release the next Maui or whatever, you can still pivot around that and publish whatever is current right now. So you can still work around it. It's a little bit more agile. Yeah, I think you should start up your blog.
If only I could find some time. Yeah, I will definitely do something like it. And I'm just not sure if I want to do it in text again like I used to, or start like maybe a Twitch or a YouTube channel. I'm not sure yet. Maybe a podcast, who knows?
Who knows?
You can do both.
He can do all of it.
You can do a Twitch channel where you're writing the blog posts.
During and recording it for a podcast. See? But so .NET 6, what is your favorite thing about that?
My favorite thing about .NET 6. But there's a lot of stuff in there. Do we count Maui?
Sure.
Do we? It is
Yeah.
released and it is still in the .NET 6 timeframe. Yes, we can. We're counting.
So Maui has to be one of my favorite things. I've done Xamarin Forms for one time professionally, and I'm not doing it anymore, or not a lot at least. But I still love the framework. And what they're doing now with Maui, throwing it around for a large part, that's really interesting. And then saying the one project type, it's interesting.
Could we back up a little bit if the listeners don't know what .NET Maui is? What is .NET Maui?
You have Xamarin Forms before .NET 6. Xamarin Forms is a Microsoft-acquired framework for writing mobile apps for Android and iOS using .NET technology, XAML or C# in the front end, and then .NET code for your logic. Maui is basically the next version, the next major version of Xamarin Forms. So it still allows you to write mobile apps, or well, it's not only mobile apps anymore, is it? It's multi-platform applications. So you can do Android, iOS, Windows, macOS. Am I missing any?
I believe Tyson is supported as well.
Oh, cool. Tyson. But also does the smartwatches, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So now you have to, it's basically, once again, the write once, run everywhere promise, which isn't really write once because you still have some platform dependence or stuff in there. But it's nice. It gets really close to being native multi-platform applications. And of course, if I have to choose a runner-up for Huawei, it would be Blazor, which has been released before .NET 6, I know, but we've been working on a Blazor application at work. We started at .NET 5, and now with .NET 6, it has greatly improved.
Mhm.
So that's definitely a close second place.
I'm, as we mentioned, writing a book on Blazor, and I can remove so much stuff because with .NET 6 and with .NET 7, things has become even easier. I really like it. I can really see the progress that they have made.
Yes. There's still some progress to be made.
Sure.
But yeah, they've come a long way in actually a pretty short time.
So where we are on the topic of easy, we know that you, just as everyone else, or at least in this call, enjoy GitHub Copilot. First of all, what is GitHub Copilot?
GitHub Copilot is it's an extension for Visual Studio VS Code. It's an AI trained model that generates codes based on what you're typing and even on the comments that you type.
So basically magic.
Sometimes it looks like that. On the other hand, sometimes it behaves like a complete idiot as well.
So Jimmy came downstairs today and he had this strange, like shocked facial expression. And he's GitHub Copilot. And he couldn't really form a sentence. So Jimmy, what happened?
So this is all true. So the promise that GitHub Copilot is going to save time is not true at all, because every time the AI just goes in, writes the code for you, you're going to spend at least 15 minutes just staring at the screen, just trying to figure out what the heck just happened. Then you're going to spend another at least 15 minutes calling your colleagues, talking about, so this happened, look at this, look what happened here.
That's true.
So today I spent a little bit of time during lunch doing my ZX Spectrum emulator. And this is not like normal code.
It's not your average business code. So.
Exactly. And I was implementing tape emulation. So like there are specific types of files that emulates the cassette tape, basically. Copilot jumps in, says, oh, so the air bit here is when it's a 1, it's supposed to take X T states. Now I'm going into mumbo jumbo technical stuff here, but it's going to take a specific amount of time for a bit of 1. And it's going to take another specific, completely different amount of time for a 0 bit. And it just filled that out with correct values and everything. These values were not present in my code anywhere else. So they just, so it's clippy. So it looks like you're writing a ZX Spectrum emulator. You probably want to do this. And I just went, no, that can't be right. So I had to Google it. I didn't know these values. So I'm Googling it and I'm like, oh, it's right.
You need to read the manual to find these states out, or how many T states. But yeah, it just goes in and knows what you're doing.
And then that's the point of AIs, where I always want to know, how did it get to this?
Yeah.
How did it make all the necessary, how did it make necessary connections to realize that these are the values you want?
Yeah.
But it's a black box. We will never know.
And I think the AI suggested an even neater version of what Jimmy was going to implement.
I was not going for that syntax at all. It was better. I got owned by GitHub Copilot.
But in a good way.
I actually have another example. I was implementing something for work and there was 2 URLs. So one of them was a link to an English document, and the other one was a Swedish document. And the text was saying download this document in English, but written in Swedish. So I'm not going to say that in Swedish, but it was written in Swedish. And when I go down and I say I create an A tag, I create the one saying type in the Swedish URL for the URL, and it completes with the text download the document in Swedish, but again,
Written in
completely
Swedish.
in Swedish. So it knew that, okay, this says Swedish, so I'm going to translate Swedish into actual Swedish.
Yeah.
This was a 15-minute meeting, so I'm just calling my colleagues. Okay, you got to see this. I'm going to show you this. And he was like, yeah, I get that. I understand. What did it do? Wait a minute. What? So we were both like 15 minutes just ranting about how awesome it is.
So I had some similar experiences. A while ago, I was building a website for a small beer brand. And so it's just basically a one-page HTML CSS website. No logic, as static as it comes. So I was writing a paragraph detailing the beer, its history, what it tastes like, your typical marketing mumbo jumbo, completely in Dutch. It created a full paragraph for me. I wrote the first sentence, and then it filled out the entire paragraph. Not all sentences were completely correct, so I had to make some adjustments, but it was insane.
Yeah, so magic. There's some magic in there. They have a unicorn on call, I'm pretty sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it also worked against me. So some time ago, we had Tekorama Belgium happening, where I'm part of the crew. So there was this one session who would only take half of the time slots. So they came to me, can you fill up the other half? Doesn't matter what. This was 2 days before the event. Sure, let's do some GitHub code pilots. Okay. I started creating a demo. What I did was I generated a complete ASP.NET controller, service layer, repository layer, using entity framework. And the only thing I ever needed to type was comments. A comment saying, I want an interface with all the CRUD stuff for products. Generates. Implement the interface using entity framework. Complete code block, completely done, it compiled, it ran, it worked. I did this demo 2 or 3 times in a row, adjusting a bit, removing some codes, trying some different comments. So the demo was complete, was done. Tekorama started. I did the demo once that day as a final test. I got on stage and it started behaving differently.
No.
And I was copy pasting the comments, so it was not making any typing mistakes or anything, but it started generating different codes, giving different options to choose from. The complete demo was botched.
No.
So I just started winging it and then giving some examples of what it generated, and it was still okay. But
It's still a good demo because you need to know that even if some of the experiences are mind-blowing and super correct, you can't only code using that. Sometimes it will not behave. And I think that's a good demo in and of itself.
definitely, I also explained the situation to the audience and
Yeah.
actually made them a bit more impressed with the technology, not with me.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's the same thing when I see a talk and there's a demo fail. I like to see the speaker fix it.
Oh yeah.
Not just skipping it, let's go back. I can tweet out whatever it is. Because if I can learn how to fix it if it happens to me, that's invaluable. I cannot get that anywhere. Just to know how other developers think to get around these types of stuff that can happen, because everything can happen when you go on stage. Literally.
I actually used that same technique back when I was giving evening courses to people who want to change careers and get into software development. And I always told them this at the beginning of the school year. None of my lessons were prepared.
Yeah.
We would just choose a project all together with a group. What are we going to build? Are we going to work 3 to 4 months on this? And it will all be live coded. You will see me make mistakes. You will see me look on how to fix this, and they get a lot out of it. They learn to debug, to fix problems.
And I see the same thing. I teach UX and agile methodologies for people just like you described, want to change careers, and they do that in a accelerated learning environment. And many of them has never even seen code before they start. But since they actually get to learn that you are going to need to Google, you are going to need to hang on Stack Overflow, they are excellent at finding the issues, which means they will become better developers for it. And I found that a little bit, not difficult, but different when we started live streaming instead, because COVID, we couldn't have real meetups, but not preparing everything to 100% like you do when you have a talk, that was kind of iffy. We are allowed to. We have, I don't know how many iterations of CSS and Bootstrap and what have you we have gone through on the stream. Next time, that didn't work out. Let's try something new. And it doesn't seem that people mind.
Because, and this is something I've learned from several seasoned speakers, actually. People are not there to see you fail as a presenter. They are there to see you succeed because they want to learn something.
Exactly.
So if whether or not your demo succeeds doesn't matter. You taught them the technique.
Yeah, that is so true. And especially so in the developer community or the tech community. In presentation technique, there's this thing that it's good to have dark PowerPoints. If you're using slides, it's good that they're dark because you are the star, you are the content, you should shine more than the screen. And if you have a white screen, of course, it will shine more and the people will look at that instead of you. However, if you are at a tech talk and you intentionally turn off the PowerPoint or you have a black screen, people will run up to you with cables trying to fix the issue because it is a very helpful community. I learned that the hard way. So I'm not using completely black slides anymore. They are dark, but they're usually a cat or something on it.
Or the small text saying this slide has been left blank intentionally.
Exactly. And that's the reason. The people were running to get me cables. But it's nice. It's a nice community.
It is. It really is.
So are you excited about the .NET 7?
I am, but I have to be honest, I haven't really looked very deep into it yet. Because I have a lot of things happening right now besides, but I will get to it. I also feel less of an urge to get to know it because it's not an LTS version.
Oh, right. And it's also 5 months before it's actually, or 4? Yeah,
October
4.
or November, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's November. Yeah.
If everything in .NET 7 sucks, it's still gonna be the raw string thingy. I don't remember the correct name. I think it's raw string. Those are awesome.
What are those?
I need those.
What are those?
So basically you can say, instead of having just one quote, you can have 3 quotes, and then you can have quotes within that string. So it's hard to explain, but for source generation, or it's going to be so much nicer to write that way.
Nice.
I'm super excited about that one.
You need to get into .NET 7 since your book is .NET 7. Would be iffy otherwise.
Any day now.
Yeah. So Jimmy is doing the dance that you did when you wrote your .NET 6 book. Oh,
right.
Yep. They changed it. Let's go back and fix it.
I feel your pain, Jimmy.
At least they are working on it actively. That's how I see it.
If you ever want to talk about it, just call me.
Author support group?
Something like that. Yeah. Might actually not be a bad idea.
You have been developing for a while. Let's say I'm building a new app today. What technology should I learn?
That strongly depends on who you are, what you already have, and what you want. That's the answer we give all our customers.
So let's say we have some C# experience.
Okay, then what kind of an app do you want? Do you want a web application, mobile, desktop?
Yes. Isn't that what all customers say?
Actually, no. So if you actually want everything,
Not everything, but I want to be on mobile and web.
what we did for a customer that wanted exactly that, the story starts different. They had a web application, a really old one, written in Lookout.js, if you remember that.
I remember.
Mhm.
So they wanted to have a mobile version of this. We built that using Xamarin Forms. And then all of a sudden they came to us saying that this application looks really nice. We had some UX experts. We had a really seasoned team working on the application. So it looks and works really nice. We want to update our web application to resemble the new mobile application. Okay, sure. But we don't want to pay for a fully new web application. Of course you don't.
Because customer.
Because customer. And this was back in .NET 5 timeframe. And then we decided, let's build a proof of concept using a Xamarin Forms application on the one hand and a Blazor WebAssembly application on the other hand, and share as much code as we can. So we got to the point where all business logic was completely shared, and only on the Xamarin side, the XAML and the view models were platform specific. And then on the Blazor side, only the views and then the components were platform specific, and all the rest was shared. And they went with it. We warned them that Blazor is stable, it's out there, but it's still very new. The community is not that big yet, but it is growing. There's a lot of interest. We believe in the product. And they went with us and we built it. It will go live in 2 months, I believe.
Oh, exciting.
Nice.
We managed it. A lot of code is shared. If I had to put a percentage on it, I would say 80-85% is shared code.
That's nice.
Also dangerous because there are different people working on the Blazor side.
There's always something need to think about a little bit extra.
Yeah, but it was exciting times because we convinced the customer to dive into a very new technology, and then we had to make it happen.
Yeah, but that's the fun part.
Oh yeah, it is.
So if you would do the same project in, let's say, November, would you go .NET MAUI and go Blazor all the way?
I would assume so, yeah. This was not a really difficult application. So no really complex things in there. So I think MAUI would be perfect to handle it.
Nice.
You're an organizer as well. What types of events are you organizing?
So I'm running or co-running a user group with some other people here in Belgium. We're called MADN, stands for Modern Application Development Network, based on MSDN. And we started out as the Windows Phone user group back in the day. Then we evolved to the Modern Application user group. We started doing Windows 8 desktop applications as well. We started doing Xamarin talks, and now we're mostly evolving towards everything that's front-end in the Microsoft stack. But we are very flexible in that. In that sense, if you want to come do a backend talk on whatever, let's say minimal APIs, and you just show a Xamarin front-end in the talk, that's fine. You're welcome.
Yeah, I think that's a good mindset. Everything that could be interested to a person that lives in this sphere. And sometimes there could be edge cases, but you can never learn too much, can you?
Exactly. There's just too much to learn.
Yeah, that little issue. So is there something that you're really passionate about that is not computer related?
Oh God, do you want them alphabetically or by dates?
I think I know a couple of them.
What are the most passionate things these days? I play guitar in a band, which has been a lot of fun.
I have a couple of songs on Spotify.
We do. The recording quality of the songs on Spotify is not really out there. They could be better.
But
it
it's
does
not
show.
bad.
No, it's not. It's not.
bad.
But it's mostly the editing. There's too much compression used on the songs. So if we play them during rehearsal, it's much more of a heavy metal sound, less of a hard rock sound. But if you want to look us up, the band's called Soul Eraser. We have 3 songs on Spotify. We're working on a full album right now.
Nice.
We have 11 songs already as of today.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Looking forward to them. But
Yeah,
you have
me
a
too.
couple of other things as well.
So I brew and drink beer.
You have your own beer brand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It sounded like I brew for my own drinking pleasure, not
That's how it started. And then it got out of hand.
But you actually sold out, didn't you?
Close to, yeah. I think we're down to the final 10 or 15, what's it called in English? It's boxes, basically. 24 in one box. But
Crates.
Crates, thank you. That was the word. But our next batch is done in 4 days.
Oh,
So
nice.
we made it. Yeah, it's been an adventure. I started home brewing a couple of years ago. I ran into a cousin of mine at some family party who told me he started home brewing. And then we had the idea of doing something together. And like I said, that got out of hand really fast. And here we are.
So are you going to continue? Are you going to expand?
Yes, definitely. So this will be our main beer. It's called Special Belge. The category. It's a 5% alcohol, so it's lightweight. It's easy to drink, to enjoy. And besides this one, we have 4 different recipes almost ready to release.
Oh, cool.
But we're not going to do it all at once. We're going to spend the coming year on marketing the one we already have.
Mhm.
And then I'm guessing by winter next year, we will release our winter beer, and then we will go slowly. We have time.
What is the name of the brand?
So the brand's called Martinas. Martinas being the Latin name of the town where we both live.
Oh,
So there's a lot of links back to this town, to Merichten.
I love that. Keeping it local.
Keeping it local, definitely, because I was born and raised here. And all of the people that still live here, we all have a really strong connection to the town. Basically, in the figure of speech, if it comes from this town, it's better than anything else. That's how we're in it. As a figure of speech, of course.
Yeah.
But this showed in our sales. It was local. We were the first one to develop, still the only one to develop a local beer from here as a small brewery. And it shows in our sales. We are really happy with how things are going.
That's cool. I'm impressed.
Thank you. So am I.
But you have something else that you are really passionate about.
That
haven't
does
you?
not go well with a beer.
Oh, no, yes, I ride motorcycles. Yeah, so it's a Harley Davidson Heritage Softail Classic from 2006. I love the bike. It's my first Harley, and it will stay with me until it falls apart.
Do you get to drive it a lot?
Yeah, I used to be in a club, and then that club fell apart. So now we're starting our own.
Oh,
And so we usually go on Sundays, like mostly every Sunday, depending on the weather. And then we go for 150 to 220 kilometers on one day.
That's
Nice.
awesome. So we have a couple of questions that we ask all our guests. And the first one is, what was your first computer?
My first computer was a second-hand bought 386 running Windows 3.11.
Those were
And-
the times.
Yeah, but this was back when Windows 95 was already released. But we had no computer at home. Well, my parents knew nothing about computers, and then neither knew I. I believe I was 12 or 13 years old, and then they bought it, and I completely got into it. At the time, I wanted to become an electrician, and I actually started learning to become an electrician after the first 3 years. But by that time, I was completely sold on computers, and I wanted to go into IT. I had no idea what field I wanted to get into, but something with computers.
Yeah.
I've broken the computer so many times and reinstalled it using all the 20 discs. So,
Oh, yeah.
did you break the computer again? Maybe.
So what was the first language you ever coded in?
That was that's middle school. It was in VBA, Visual Basic for Applications, in Access.
That is awesome.
But that one got me interested into coding. And because of those lessons, I'm a developer now.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a way to go as well.
Whatever gets you into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we have one question that is perhaps one of the most important questions, but I think we're going to skip that one
I
for this
don't think
podcast.
so, because I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, we'll never know. We'll never know. So if our listeners, okay, fine. Marvel or DC?
Marvel, of course.
Yes. We can still be friends.
I have Thor sitting back there in the couch. And there's a Marvel poster out here somewhere. So yeah, Marvel all the way. I've spent years reading the comics. Unfortunately, that had to go because comics are such a time sink. It's insane. But luckily, the movies, the TV shows came in to replace that. So yeah, I love Marvel.
Have you seen the new Thor movie?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. I'm planning to go with my son next week or in 2 weeks or something. So trying to avoid all spoilers until then.
Yeah,
Have you?
we saw it on Friday. I liked it more than Jimmy, and I understand why he didn't. He didn't dislike it, but I understand what his issue is, but I did not have the same issue. So it depends really on what you thought of the other movies running up to this.
Like the other Thor movies or the other MCU movies?
How do I say this?
Spoiler free if you can.
So what was the movie you did not like, Jimmy? Which one?
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, yeah. Did you like that one?
I did because that's the Planet Hulk one, right?
Yeah.
So the movie was such a shift in what it was not an MCU movie. It was a comedy, and I loved it for it.
Okay,
All right.
you will be fine.
Okay.
I liked that too. That's what
I
I'm saying.
hated that movie because it was a comedy.
They were brave enough to switch it
Yes.
over a proven formula.
Yes.
Mm.
Which I think might be needed from time to time.
Especially they've been at it for 14 years by now.
Yeah, there are so many movies. I don't know, what,
Yeah.
20, 30 movies, something? You need to switch something up at some point.
That's also what I like about the Disney Plus shows. They're all so completely different.
Yeah.
I had a discussion with a coworker today. She saw the Doctor Strange one, Multiverse of Madness, and she hated it.
Why?
I didn't get a real answer about what it was exactly that she didn't like, but she really hated it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But what I really loved about Multiverse of Madness is I'm a big horror movie fan. And there were a lot of references to other movies. There was a scene that really resembled the first Alien movie. There were references to Evil Dead in there,
Obviously.
Yeah.
obviously. But there were a lot of references to a lot of different movies. I
Yeah.
don't know if they were all intentional or I made some links in my head that weren't there.
I'm pretty sure some of them were definitely intentional.
Yeah.
But it was definitely one of the more intense ones.
Yeah.
There were jump scares in there.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
And that was also something we did not expect. Because the bad guy it's still like a Disney sort of finishing. Some bad guy gets, I don't know, knocked down and everything's fine. But here it was getting under your skin a little bit.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I like that they're trying to keep current. Because 30 movies all the same, no thank you.
Exactly.
A lot of them, fine, but not all of them.
All right. So if our listeners want to find you, where can they go? Do you have Twitter, or we talked about the blog?
I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Nico Vermeir.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Coding after work.